Hey, this is Rob Anspach, and welcome back to another edition of eHeroes for those keeping count. This is episode 296, and we're rocking and rolling closer to that 300 episode. And today's episode is going to be probably a little different. I brought on, you know, someone I just recently met on LinkedIn, and we're both kind of in the same field. So we're going to kind of talk about the state and how the things are happening on digital marketing, social media, all these things that we can do or don't do, and the collaborations that happen. And if you know me, you've read some of my books. They're collabs that I've had with other people because I want to get their viewpoint, their experiences. And so I'm bringing on, sorry, I had to look at my notes because I forgot, Karla Campos. And I wrote it down. I forgot. But
It
so
happens.
I apologize. You know, I make mistakes on every one of these podcasts, but that's the glory of it. We're human. We make mistakes. And I sometimes I don't remember everything because I'm getting older. But this is the joy about partnering with other people. Maybe they're smarter. Maybe they think better. Maybe they remember stuff better. But, all in all, it's great to be able to learn from new people, gain their insights, and then adapt that experience, to help your business grow better. So, welcome, Karla, and thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I love the story that you're sharing that we connected on LinkedIn because I think how we originally connected was that I saw you had a heroes podcast. I'm into superheroes, and I saw you had like the Superman curl, and I was like, hey, I love that. Weird,
It's
right?
my hair
Nice.
goes where it goes, and I've been teased about it, but there's days where it just relaxes, and people are like, "Wow, you're like Clark Kent." I'm like, "Yeah, well, if I take my glasses off, I'm not any super, so I can't see for." So, but
In your own way.
you're in the digital marketing space like I am, like I introduced, but you know, you do things a little differently than I do. And I think your stance, your focus, maybe is on entrepreneur moms or
Yes.
empowering women where a lot of what I do is helping lawyers and doctors, high level entrepreneurs, and sometimes their focus is so narrow that they don't necessarily want to see the expanded universe. um, but you're bringing in a different concept where, look, we have to empower these people and give them the information so that they can be the next generation of superheroes.
Yes. And the thing is that I focus on moms because I'm a mom myself, and the journey has been different for me than for most traditional business owners. And I have worked with the brands that you're talking about, doctors, lawyers, big brands through my experience working with like iHeartMedia and Cox Media and all the TV stations like Univision, where I used to have jobs. And, their systems are great if you fit into that genre of worker. But if you're a mom and you have all these other responsibilities on top of you, that journey looks different. So
Mhm.
that's where I'm like, okay, I know all the struggles I've gone through. I know the pressures from being a Hispanic mom of like everyone's like, you're at work, maybe you're not doing your best as a mom. Where people just don't understand that, okay, well, my kids are more grown now, they're in
Mhm.
school. So what now, right? I definitely can take a job with companies. I have experience in marketing and radio, TV, etc. But I can empower myself, empower other women, and say, hey, look, we can manage this in a different way. It
Mhm.
doesn't have to go the traditional way for you to be successful.
Right.
So that's where like my perspective comes from all that experience of like the ups and downs of working in corporate America, and then like what didn't work for me or what could have been better.
Mhm. Well, you
Because
also have with Hispanics, you have deep culture. and that I think has to come into what they're doing. You know, I'm known as Mr. Sarcasm. I'm very sarcastic to my clients, and especially on social media. But that's become my personal branding. People recognize that. You know, that culture that a lot of the women in the Hispanic world come into, it's that deep rooted connection to the community, and they need to be able to showcase that. And I've noticed that bigger companies do not want to bring about individuality. They don't want to showcase a certain culture. But yet, had they done that, had they say, look, this month or this week or whatever, we're going to showcase these Hispanic superheroes in our company, they're gonna be able to, you know, um, be more relevant to those customers. They don't do it.
And reach more people that might need their service,
Yeah.
even though perhaps they're not speaking the same language. They could bring somebody in who knows the language or how to talk to that genre.
Mhm.
And it's just like, hey, everybody needs your service, right? Everybody needs food, everybody needs healthcare. But maybe you're not drawing the people in because you just don't know how to speak their language. So why not connect with somebody who's like, I know what I know where you're not communicating the correct thing. Let me help.
Yeah.
And that will expand your network, that will expand your customer base. And it's just awesome, what we can do when we come together.
Yeah. I mean, now this is going to be a little tricky because I've though I guess the last decade I've used YouTube more exclusively. Now I just started tinkering with TikTok, and I have clients that have thousands and thousands of followers. But here's the thing, just like life, you can have thousands and thousands of followers, but if your message isn't getting clear, if those thousands of people aren't paying your service or searching the right words, they're never going to find you. I've always found that
Mhm.
I've gotten better types of clients on YouTube, even though my numbers are lower than I did on TikTok. And to me, it's kind of like, okay, TikTok's the new person on the block. YouTube has been around for a while. They're like the grandparents you want to respect. But I just seem to, and my clients too. We just get better results on YouTube.
And as you know, TikTok's going through a big situation with legislature. So even the president has voted on that banning TikTok legislature that is like a big, humongous issue right now
Right.
all over social media. And there's like some ifs and buts, what's going to happen. But if somebody in America does not buy TikTok, they're going to ban it here.
Mhm.
So that's going to be a lot of issues. Even if it's the new kid, sometimes the older, more reliable person is where you want to be because they're still around, they're following the rules of where you are. And maybe it's not the new hot it thing, but it's been around, it's reliable.
Right.
And that's something that people often forget,
Yeah.
you know?
When did you decide that you wanted to be an entrepreneur? Because, like you said, you worked for big companies, and
I did.
sometimes.
And I worked for big companies, I've enjoyed it, but a lot of the time there was no understanding
Mhm.
of family first, which is something that is humongous in the Hispanic
Right.
community. That even though you're working and you value your career, it's always family first. So you have to, and I respect my clients. I love my clients. I put them as family, but it's always around kind of my family.
Mhm.
Um, Mother's Day, I have to go see my mom. So I've already blocked off that time. And it doesn't mean that I'm not responsible. I haven't put somebody there, but those are my values as a person. So I've always found that in corporate America, it's like, no, you have to just do what we say because you work for us. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter like what do you believe. It doesn't matter if your family is the most important thing in your life. You work for us, you belong to us. So I find that just working for yourself, you know, even perhaps if you start off just making a lower salary, like it just kind of fits your values.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I early on in my career, I worked for big companies. I worked for Coca-Cola. I worked for, manufacturing companies, and although the pay was great, I didn't have freedom. And so being an
Mhm.
entrepreneur gave me freedom. It gave me the ability to put my family first, to go to events, to do things, to work around their schedule. And it I can't say that it always made me more money, but it
Mhm.
allowed me to do what I wanted to do. And so the last few years, my the two words that I live by are freedom and legacy. And freedom to do what I want, when I want, how I want, for the benefit of whom I want, and legacy. What am I leaving behind for the next generation of entrepreneurs? And the podcast is the example of legacy, the books. But there's nothing like it when it comes to community. And when you do everything for the benefit of the community, now it makes your business so much bigger.
I think so because I think everyone has come in, even on LinkedIn. I was speaking about this with someone the other day that everyone thinks it's just a pitch in the DMs. Meanwhile, making the connection, hey, look, I met Rob. We were just having a little chat. He invites me to his podcast. His podcast has huge value. He's actually appreciating my story. I'm appreciating what he does. Like, that's part of his legacy that he's leaving behind because it's not just a hit and run. I
Right.
did a sales pitch on a DM. It's more like, he's sharing his values. We're recording something important together that we're sharing values. It's just, like I think that's what social media should be. And maybe that's old school thinking sometimes in some people's minds. But, you know, like I'm glad to connect with Rob to just say, yeah, look, I'm into this too that he's doing. And
Mhm.
it's an amazing project because everyone else is not even putting this effort. That shows effort that he's going the extra mile to create a podcast to leave a legacy.
Mhm. Yeah, and the thing is that, whether we do similar things, there's so much. I don't consider people my competitors anymore, because to me, that's a bad way to run a business. There are
Yep.
people out there that do similar things like you do. They don't do them the same way that you do them. I mean, nobody does the things. Okay, you can do things similar to what I do, but never in the manner that I do them. So, but I can't help everyone. And maybe my price point is too high for a lot of people.
Mhm.
So, it's always good to have people that you can not only respect, but feel safe giving potential clients away.
Yep.
And so, if I can say, well, you know what, my personality does not match them, and that's okay. I if you don't like sarcasm, you're not gonna have fun with me. So I need somebody that values them, that kind of shares that their personality, and then they're gonna get along better. And so by having resources that I can turn to, all the people I've ever interviewed, people that I've collaborated in my books, I can say, hey, look, I had this client for you. I think they're gonna match your personality. Would you want them? And so that's the way to run a business, not being a competitor, because honestly, I don't care what my competitors do. I don't care what they charge. Um, I think it's a mindset. I think when early on, when you're starting off as an entrepreneur, you're concerned about what other people are doing, but why spend all that effort worrying about someone else when you can turn that effort into making your business better, you know?
No, and I
So
love that you say that because I think it is the mindset that there is enough in the world for everyone to get a piece of the pie, but
mhm,
that's not often shared out there. It's everybody's like, that's your competitor. But
right,
is it really? Have you really looked into it or are you just looking at everyone as a competitor? That's a horrible way to go to life, right?
yeah,
Because you want friends, you want allies, you want people that can help you. Because if you're in that mindset, then you're gonna be stuck in a desk doing all that work yourself because everyone's a competitor.
right,
Meanwhile, like I don't know if I'm allowed to mention this, but Rob was mentioning a family vacation. Like, don't you want to be on your family vacation with people you trust, doing the things that are in your values, the same quality that you do them in, but it's not necessarily you there at the desk
Right.
24/7, like, you know?
And the thing is that, like I said earlier, a lot of my clients are lawyers, doctors, and they're very competitive, and they'll spend tons and tons of money every single month to run Google ads. The problem is, and I want to emphasize this with all the listeners. You can spend all that money, and that's great. But if you can learn to team up with, people that you think are competitors and tell them exactly what types of clients that you're looking for, a lot of times they'll refer business to you instead of taking
Mhm.
it on themselves because it just doesn't fit their parameter. You know,
Yes.
for me, why should I accept every single client that comes to me when most of them aren't the right fit?
Mhm.
And so, if you're a lawyer, a plumber, electrician, learn to know exactly what your types of clients are. And the ones that aren't a potential client, refer them to somebody else. You're making them happy. You're making yourself happy because you don't have to do as much work, but you're concentrating on the clients that actually give you passion. And so, yeah, none of us are competitors. We need to learn to collaborate better.
I know, and it's great that you say that too, because when it comes to lawyers, plumbers, a lot of the times it comes to location,
Hmm.
right? So like maybe you can collaborate with somebody, even if you have the contract, but you can hire somebody in the area. So Rob is not in the same area that I am, but he can be like, hey, I ran into this client. I'm running this contract, but hey, you could do this and this work for me because you're in that area. You know,
Hmm.
like the collaborations are out there, but you just have to come up with that mentality that's like, hey, wait a minute. Do I need to be 100% involved in this, or I can outsource this to somebody else and we're both winning? You know, I love that mentality when it comes to just working with people in general.
So, you're an entrepreneur. You're a woman. That kind of makes you a superwoman. What do you how do you balance life, with your business and your kids?
So that's a question I always get often. And is it, it's a juggling act, right? So today everything's working out perfect. But we were talking about earlier, like my camera wasn't connecting correctly to my computer. We got this going a little bit, like maybe a few minutes. I was a little late. Okay, let me just say it. All right, let's own up to it. 'Cause I couldn't connect my computer. The mic was off. Whatever. That's my fault. But little things come up that you have to juggle. It's never perfect. Tomorrow is going to be a completely different day. The next day is going to be completely different. So it's not a balance per se. It's like a roller coaster. That's the
Mhm,
reality. It's not perfect, it's not safe. Entrepreneurship is a roller coaster. So when they tell you life and work balance, it's just you juggling every day the different things that come at you.
mhm.
That's
But
my way to explain it. I don't know if it's the same for you, Rob.
well, no, it is. And there's days where that roller coaster, the seat that you're sitting in becomes a dumpster fire, and you just want to get off the roller coaster before you get burned to death. Um, but when you have days like that, and I don't know how you run your digital marketing company. I know a lot of the things that we do, we use a scheduler. So we have thousands of pieces of content in there, and we'll theme out our days. We know exactly what's being posted on Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays, based on that theme, because I don't have hundreds of hours that I want to dedicate to sitting in front of a computer. I'd rather schedule it out. And now it looks like I'm everywhere, but I'm really not. So,
Yes. So I believe also in schedulers and everything that you can automate, except that when it has to be one-on-one personal. So today we had to be here one-on-one, right? I can't put
mhm,
an AI body or
right.
talking to you because it wouldn't be authentic. It wouldn't be the same as me having the one-on-one conversation with you. So definitely what you can automate, schedule ahead of time, of course. But if it's something where you have to show up in person, regardless of who you are, you're the CEO, you're the admin, you know, roles vary, but sometimes you just have to be there yourself, right? There's no going around it. I wanted to talk to you. I wanted to do this interview. So I can't put someone else there, right? Of course I could, but it wouldn't be as authentic, right? You want to
Mhm,
hear from me. You don't want to hear from A or B and C person working with me, collaborating with me. You want to hear directly from me how it works for me as a
mhm,
CEO who is open to working with automated services, collaborating with people, how that works and how that can be chaotic either way. So I have a good friend she mentors people, a mompreneur. She mentors people on sort of scheduling and being present online when you're an introvert. And
mhm.
she's like, look, I don't book things in like say 9 to 10. No, I give myself time blocks because I know that in my role it's gonna be hectic, right? Even though I know that if it's a social media manager, an SEO manager, those things need to be scheduled, they need to be on time, but those are the employees, right?
Mhm.
So, but for me, since I have like all these multiple hats, I do time blocks. So from 9 to like say 12, from 9 to 1, knowing how everything takes time, we think it doesn't. How long did it take me to like try to get this computer to get fixed? I think maybe like at least 7 minutes over our time.
Mhm.
So I just know that in my role, like I better book from at least 10 a.m. because you are going to speak with me at 11 to about at least an hour after just to like revamp and get back into the zone because
Mhm.
it takes time and people don't notice that these things take so much time and they don't want to slow down. They're like fast, fast, fast because that's how the internet rolls. But everything just takes time and those time blocks are really important to just I blocked out these times to be here with Rob in case of any craziness happens. If he has his time availability to deal with me if I was 15 minutes late, if he can add, subtract here and there, like at least I blocked all this time to be here on this podcast and slow down and
Mhm.
actually give my whole entire full time to him on his podcast and have that respect.
Well,
Does that make sense?
I think you hit on a few key points, and things do take time. And I think that we as social media marketers also have to show our clients that not only does marketing take time, but we need to slow down the process a little bit so that they understand that we're trying to build a foundation,
Mhm.
and things just can't be built rapidly. I think too many people think, oh my God, we have these things, we can get instant results. Um, doesn't work that way. I can run an ad. It doesn't mean you're going to get, $1 million off that ad. It's not going to work. So things take time. We need to slow down things a little bit because your expectations are way up here, but we know they should be way down here. Gotta come on. So I always say,
That
look,
is
yeah,
God, but I couldn't hear because you always say what?
yeah, everything needs to slow down. I think patience is required. You know,
I think so because I think people want to rush it. They want the next customer, the next so fast, but it's like, if we don't sit together with enough time to just resolve your issue, like we're not going to do the same thing for your customer. In the end of the road, they're not going to be satisfied because everybody wants that attention that
yeah.
we're not even getting from the digital time. We're just let's automate that. Let's do
Well,
AI.
and
And I
I
love AI.
yeah,
Go on.
I, I've been toying with AI for I don't know, it seems like forever, but there's it's a tool just like anything else. And when you misuse a tool, things are going to break.
Mhm.
One of the things I've noticed over the last few years is agency hopping. You know, uh, clients they want a Hail Mary, they want a magic pill. They're in desperation mode, so they hire an agency. The agency doesn't do what they need to do within a fast enough period of time, so they jump to the next one, then the next one, then the next one. Problem is, no foundation is ever being laid because everybody's tearing it up and putting something new down, tearing it up. Doesn't work. You know,
It's a
I
new
always tell people,
promise,
look,
a new shiny object. What is it? Fool's gold. We can do this. We can do that. But I think when from knowing that I work in different media companies, it's like a lot of people are using the same tool. So we were talking about Google Ads.
Hmm.
So company A, company B, I'm not going to say the names, but they all use Google Ads. So maybe they presented it to you in a different shiny object way, but it's the same Google Ads that people working that industry have been doing for a long time, and they know it's not a one day to another day sort of solution. Like it takes time. You can't just, oh man, here's a month. I promise you to be this and this and this. How much? Because that's just fool's gold. People, it
Yeah.
takes time to get those clients
Well,
on those platforms. And you know that for a fact, don't you?
we did. We had a client come to us. The old media company wouldn't release their website, wouldn't release any of their social pages.
Oh yes.
So we had to create a new website, create new social pages, and that was expensive. The client paid it because they didn't have a choice. But, I don't hold assets hostage. So when people pay me, it's their stuff. They can take it wherever. And after 6 months, they were approached by somebody else offering a better deal, better shiny object. And I said, fine, go. They took their website. And 3 months later, the new agency built them a new website. And I'm like, why? And 6 months later, a new website was built. So in less than 2 years, they had three websites. And I'm thinking, wait, why do agencies do this? But
They're just adding to the billing, but they're not providing the results, right? Because there's always an excuse of why not yet. We need this, we need that, and that's one of their tactics.
yeah,
And that's one of the reasons too that I decided to go my own way in business, because to me that's not fair. As a business owner, spending maybe $20 in here, expecting this results, that's heartbreaking. Like, why would I do that to somebody just because I know
just
it gives me revenue?
you know, like
You know,
you said earlier, family first. When it comes to business, it's for me, it's friends first. You're my friend first, and my client second. And so I will bend over backwards to help you. And I stopped using contracts years ago for the sole purpose because if you're really unhappy with my service, I don't want to lock you into something that's going to just affect everybody because you're going to be pissy with me. You're going to yell at my staff. You don't want to be there. I don't want you there. If you need to leave, leave. And so I've always had that open door policy that they can leave whenever. And I've had clients stay with me for years and years and years. And a lot of these are lawyers that are used to doing contracts every day. And they're like, you don't have a contract? Nope. You pay me, I do the work, you know. And I think for me, that has always been that trust factor. Look, you come to me, I'm not going to do all the crap that all those other stupid agencies have done. I'm not going to hold you hostage. I'm not going to, you know, do all these funny games with your assets. I just treat people the right way.
no, and I agree to a degree with that, but I'm a little different because I do need a contract just because of the things I've seen. But at the same time, it's not a contract that holds you forever.
Yeah.
I understand, yeah, because I know I'm trustworthy, so I know you're coming from that space that you're trustworthy. But on the other side, sometimes
Oh,
I've
there's a
had situations where people are like they're the ones who have doing shady stuff, and it's
yeah.
like, okay, well,
Yeah,
I've
well,
learned to
you're
protect
allowed to
myself.
say shady shit. That's what it is.
Shady stuff that happens out there because it does happen.
Yeah, there's there and this is why I'm very particular now with the types of clients that I accept. And I'm very upfront with them. And I charge the first month that I work with somebody, it's always double what the next monthly is. So if you come to me and you say, Rob, I want all this stuff, okay, this is the first month, but it's a double bill versus the next month because I'm trying to create all this foundational marketing for you. There's a lot of work that's put in that first month.
Hmm.
And you know, then they stick around. But if they go in 3 months, 6 months, a year, that's okay. I, I'm here to resolve their necessary problems, but I'm not a miracle worker. So, if that's what they're if that's what they're
And that's so
expecting, I can't.
important to say because, like, when you're in the field doing the work, like you say, the first months take time that you might not see anything on the outside, but people are so like focused on that outside results, or at least that fool's goal, that they're not trusting the right people. Like you seem like a person who is gonna sit there and actually like take hours, probably days. I don't know, like just taking the first creative. And I don't know, like, like I feel like you would sit on the computer and be like, okay, I'm gonna do this and this with this client, and like
Mhm.
be very excited about just kind of developing
Oh,
that
we developed
whole
their
entire
graphics.
project. But
We I mean, the whole gamut of everything. We go through their website, re-optimize it better for keywords, and we'll design their social. We'll do all kind, and so it takes time. It's but again, I think the expectations that agencies have given clients in the past doesn't match the results. So, I try to bring people down to a reality that they can accept moving forward, with, you know, real results that they can expect. But to me, I don't like shiny objects. I don't want to tempt them into stuff. But,
I think because you've been in the field so long, you just know that anything that sounds too good to be true is kind of like suspicious.
yeah, yeah, and we've produced 43 books in 11 years. And the last one was Unscripted, Unfiltered, Unwoo-woo, and Unguru, which basically it's just two of us talking about entrepreneurship. And I everything I do is no BS. I don't want to I don't want to create that illusion that I'm you know doing magic, or I'm this guru that can do anything for them. It's not who I am.
No, that's good. I like working with people like that because it's
So
just easier.
how do people work with you? Where do they go? How do they find you?
Where do they? Don't call me on the phone. So maybe that's something that you offer that's better. That you're willing to
Absolutely
to,
not.
to call them.
No, funny thing
I don't
is
even know where my phone is.
I rarely answer the phone for new clients. But if it says scam likely, I'm going to answer the phone and screw with these people, because I have a whole series of books called Rob Versus, where I screw with the scammers, and I share the sarcastic stories in my books. But clients are like, Rob, why don't you pick up the phone? I'm like, I just saw you send me a chat message on Facebook. Give me a moment to answer. And they're calling me right
So
away.
I do answer on Facebook. That's a good point. I do answer on Facebook depending on the context of the text. Like if it's, how it's getting these days. Everybody's like just pitch after pitch. You don't even know who it is, what country they're coming from,
Oh, I know.
what's happening. It's just pitch after pitch that it becomes so much you don't even want to be there. But on Facebook, I do answer. Let's see. You can do the Mompreneur Center website. There's a form there if you want to be on the podcast, my podcast, which is just focused around mompreneurs. Um, that's free. So you can just fill out a form there and book a time where you want to be interviewed about what you're doing with moms or what your business is.
Mhm.
Let's see there. I have my email there. There's a contact form. That's probably the easiest way. But now that I said it, I feel like a lot of spam is gonna come in.
And
So
it's
on
mom.
LinkedIn, we did connect because I knew
Yeah.
you were not a spammer, or so I do answer there depending on like how your context sounds.
Mhm.
So LinkedIn,
Well,
Facebook, I do answer.
for anybody out there, what I do differently on LinkedIn is I just send a little 15-second video introducing myself, and wishing my new connection well, and I leave the door open for a conversation. And a
Yes.
lot of people have you know stopped pitching me because they get that intro first. Hey, I don't like pitches, so let's have a conversation instead. And
That
so
was good
that's
actually, because when you did connect with me, you had like a nice little
yeah.
that I actually did answer because I thought it had value. So yeah, you're right. You do have that to follow.
And I think the follow up is very important. Not only in introductions, but after the sale. And I think as entrepreneurs, we've gotten away from doing follow ups. We don't send people thank you cards. We don't send them, a newsletter. We don't send them, a reminder. And
Yes.
for me, it's like I'm helping all these different people. Why aren't you? And usually the thing is the excuse I get is we don't have time, or email is faster. Or, okay, but I can't flip the camera around, but in front of me, there's a wall full of thank you cards of people who have taken the time to send me, thank you, whether being on a podcast, whether being, a service that I gave them, and those are the ones that I remember. And so,
You look
I
at them
think
differently because they took the extra effort.
yeah. So, whether you're on LinkedIn and sending a little short video, whether you're sending a thank you, people remember those things because it's different, it stands out, and it makes you human. And
And
so,
that's important.
and the funny thing is that even the presidents, who are the busiest people in the world, always take time to reply to people. Now, some say, well, it's an auto pen. Well, there's some presidents who actually will physically sign the thing all day long. Uh, this is why they can't get any bills passed because they're signing thank you. But they take the time to do it.
At least they're focused somewhere else. They're not parading around
So
something
we're
digital.
running out
Yeah.
of time here, but what's
Yes.
one thing or two things that you want to leave the listener with? What whether it be freedom, legacy, whether it be family.
So I think definitely what we've been talking about that's been our main focus is taking that extra time to connect as a human is important, especially in this digital age where everything is like, let's automate, let's add AI, but people are so desperate for connection.
Hmm.
And number two, that it's okay to slow down. That actually helps you with that connection. And it actually helps you build a foundation for your clients and not just giving them fool's gold. And
Hmm.
hopefully they do trust in your experience to build this foundation to turn them into real gold. How's that?
Yeah, there you go. So we'll see you, and everyone, we'll see you on the next episode. Adios.